U.S. President Donald Trump has ruled out his so-called Board of Peace in a ceremony in Davos. At the event, Trump signed the document formally establishing the board. Prime ministers and diplomats of several other countries also signed the document. Trump announced that the board will work in conjunction with the UN. The Board of Peace was originally part of his Gaza peace plan, meant to oversee the ceasefire and reconstruction of the territory. Now, Trump addressed the ceremony, saying the new board will work together to resolve conflicts and work towards peace.
We can spread out to other things as we succeed with Gaza. We're going to be very successful in Gaza. It's going to be a great thing to watch, and we can do other things. We can do numerous other things. Once this board is completely formed, we can do pretty much whatever we want to do, and we'll do it in conjunction with the United Nations. And I think the combination of the Board of Peace with the kind of people we have here, coupled with the United Nations, can be something very, very unique for the world. It's for the world. This isn't United States. This is for the world.
I'm joined now by Andrew Gilmour. He's a former UN Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights. Welcome to DW. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Now, Andrew, what is Trump seeking to achieve with the launch of his Board of Peace?
Good morning. I think we are seeing essentially two things. It's coming as to define truth. You saw how a number of the US delegations said, we are coming to Davos. We're not part of the Davos consensus or the rules-based. We are coming to overturn what has been the European institutions and values. The European Union in first position, NATO second position, the World Trade Organization, and now the United Nations. This is being set up as some form of a new UN, but instead of being set up in order to, based on 80 years, we just had the 80th anniversary of the UN in London this week, based on all the member states and the founding members back in the 40s. This is based on one man. This is the Board of Peace, which by the way, was set up specifically by the UN Security Council last October to deal with Gaza. It is now, talk about the ultimate mission creep, it is now working to resolve conflicts all over the world. And but it's not an institution, it's one man. It's a sort of global megalomania that one has never seen before. One man decides who the members are, one man decides what the agenda is, one man can veto any decision, one man decides who can actually represent any country, one man says that you must pay $1 billion in order to become a member. Other people, he can say, well, I won't charge you $1 billion. It's essentially a one-man show. And so I think that's what it is. And a number of countries, as you have pointed out, are not very keen to do this. They are, people like France and Germany and the UK are all extremely hesitant about this because they believe that it is a way to sort of circumvent the United Nations and to create the will of one man to replace the UN.
Yeah, I actually want our viewers to also know, which countries have been invited to join the Board of Peace so far. We have a graphic here. You can see in light blue all the countries that have been invited by Trump to join his Board of Peace, and in dark blue, the 23 countries that have already accepted the invitation. Among those countries are Turkey, Argentina, and Israel, for example. Why, Andrew, are countries accepting the invite? What's in it for them?
What's in it for them is that they might be able to get some influence if they join, but they also want to curry favor with the man who's in charge of it. Because if you say no to him, you know that you get tariffs or you get other forms of punishment and insults on Twitter and whatever it is. So they're joining because I think it's in their interests, not because they believe it's going to restore peace anywhere, I believe, but and it's also indicative that some of the people invited can't even show up in Davos because they would be arrested by the Swiss government. I'm talking about Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel and President Putin of Russia, who has been invited but hasn't said he would join, because they would be obliged under the terms of the International Criminal Court to arrest those members of the Board of Peace. So, and it's people like President Lukashenko of Belarus and Argentina's Milei and and then of course there are also a number of Middle Eastern countries. But as I said, it was specifically designed to be set up for Gaza. But Donald Trump has decided that he actually wants to resolve conflicts all over the world using it.
I want to look a little closer at Vladimir Putin. He said that he's willing to pay the $1 billion of Russian frozen assets to join and have a permanent seat on the peace board. How do you feel about the prospect of influence and access on this board being for sale and open to someone waging a brutal war of aggression in Ukraine?
Well, absolutely. By the way, he wouldn't be paying $1 billion. It would come from the frozen assets that he's not going to get back anyway. So it's money for him that he's not going to have anyway. Of course, the idea that you can buy membership of an organization, of a global organization that's designed essentially to replace, to all intents and purposes, the United Nations, the idea that you can just buy that, and the idea that some of the key members are regarded by the International Criminal Court as war criminals is obviously regarded as a bit of a joke by a number of people, of course.
That was former UN
But one
Assistant
can't really say that out loud if you're in a government, because there would be punishment meted out to any government that would actually say that openly.
That was former UN Assistant Secretary General for Human Rights, Andrew Gilmour. Thank you so much for your insights today.